All right. Don't need to do flashback, but let's just double check all the recordings. Make sure the recordings are going right. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what we want on the floor.
Gaming.
Hopefully everything's going to work. Let's see how that went. Need incense. Can't do the shit without incense.
It's time for BGFG.
Gonads are useful for their purpose, but they are no substitute for brains.
All right, here we go.
I have to say, well done. Great. Well done. Well played, my adversary. Well played.
Phoenix isn't gay, but if he was, he'd pick Freemo.
Oh yeah, he'd be living down there with you in the bunker, man. Woo!
Once you go free, you always do the Z.
Like one day of not going to Duncan, and you could get a controller, a new Xbox, possibly even a cord.
And now, the two guys that took 2 years to fix their audio problems.
Welcome to BGFG episode 342. I'm your host, Chris Phoenix, and Freemo Z is not with me again this week because he is currently working on some issues in the Middle East from the message I got. I don't know what he's doing. Again, a lot of stuff is secret. So we got a good show lined up for today. A lot of hype on a lot of different things. That's just strange in my eyes. Just strange overall. I think we got some good music and some interesting stuff to talk about. And hopefully the audio and the video will actually work today. That'd be great. To last the entire show. That'd be wonderful. That we don't have to splice it in. Music this week I think is going to be really good. I apologize as always to the YouTube people for not being able to hear the music. But again, you're going to be able to hear it if you listen to the podcast, which is always good. So let's get into this week's news and just kick off this wonderful show.
BGFG News. You heard it here third.
So, well, sometimes when I'm going through news, I pass by stories that I think are, you think that they're common sense stuff. You really do. But misinformation and clickbait is just, it's just everywhere. Why is that not coming up? Oh, now I'm already having a problem with pictures. Isn't that great? Well, that's interesting. Huh. That's really odd. So, First up is master faces for unlocking iPhones. And this is one of those things that I have heard about numerous times. I don't exactly agree with it. I think it's kind of stupid. But it's the master faces with biometrics. So what they're saying is that, well, if you have somebody that looks like you or close to you, it can be bypassed. And there's academics from Tel Aviv that say that there's 9 master faces. I mean, is that even true? I mean, can you actually honestly say that that is true in any way? Because I don't think it is at all. I think it's kind of BS. The 9 faces, they said the 9 faces will work on roughly about 90% of, you know what? I can't even do this. I got to restart that. I don't like this. I know I got live, but I could do a pre-recording and start it again. I don't understand why the pictures aren't working now, and I always get the pictures to work. So I want to figure that out before I start doing the show. So if I do this, and I bring back... So you guys think this is easy. This isn't easy. Where's my face recognition one? Batteries. Wow, I gotta reload all of these? That kind of sucks. Oh, I really do. It's kind of lame. Well, now the people that are watching, that are tuning in now, you get to see the magic behind the actual show. It's too funny. Okay, I don't know what the hell's going on here, but this is going to be changed out. Never a dull moment, man. Thankfully, there's not a lot of them this time. So if we just get these done, bear with me. It'll make me feel a lot better. As it always does. I get to see all the little things I'm going to do. It's so weird. None of that shit worked. But at least it'll work now, and that's all that matters. What the hell part am I on now? Oh, 1600. Well, that would be not a long show either. Hope everybody that's watching has had a good weekend. It's always fun, you know, a little bit of a hot spell. A little bit of a hot spell, but, you know, again, getting a little bit better. I was just outside, went for a walk, and then went over to the basketball court. Shot some hoops this morning. It felt good. Which was always good. You know, that's one thing I said when I was in martial arts, and again, I'm taking time off, but I'm going back. But even when I was in martial arts, and I tell a lot of people that ask me about things at an older age, and again, I'm not in epic shape. I'm not in my fighting weight anymore. But, man, get up in the morning. I cannot stress this enough. Get up in the morning, stretch. Just stretch. If you're going to do anything, just, you know, loosen up your body. Swing your arms. You know, in a circle, and then do, like, you know, some basic. And again, you're not trying to touch your toes. If you can't touch your toes, don't touch your toes. You'll get there eventually. Just work toward it. You know, if you have to take some little weights to help that stretch a little bit more, then do it. There's nothing that says that you can't do that. Just be mindful of your body. There's pain, and then there's good pain. The good pain is like being uncomfortable. Think of it like that. If you're uncomfortable, that's good. If you're in pain, that's not good. You have to be mindful of those things. You have to listen to your body. But one thing that people, the Generation X, one of the things that we forget about a lot of times is moving your body. I can't tell you, when I had my health issues a month ago, I was sedentary for a while, and it was not good. It was not good at all. All the martial arts stuff and everything else, because I'm older, just falls by the wayside. You can't bounce back like you were when you were a kid. Just can't. So you got to be mindful of that and think about it. But that's neither here nor there. So now I got all this stuff working again. Let's see if I can't get this whole thing going again. So we'll try it again. And we'll see what happens.
It's time for BGFG.
Gonads are useful for their purpose, but they are no substitute for brains.
All right, here we go.
I have to say, well done, Ray. Well done. Well played, my adversary. Well played.
Phoenix isn't gay, but if he was, he'd pick Fremont.
Oh, yeah, he'd be living down there with you in the bunker, man. Woo!
Once you go free, you always do the Z.
Like one day I'm not going to Duncan, and you could get a controller, a new Xbox, possibly even a cord.
And now, the two guys that took 2 years to fix their audio problems.
Well, it's only one guy now. For now, it's only one guy. Welcome to BGFG, episode 342. Don't Believe the Hype is the name of this one. I'm your host, Chris Phoenix, and not joining me again this week is Mr. Fremo Z. He's apparently doing something in the Middle East. He can't tell me why, but there's a lot of loud noises in the background. So I'm not going to argue with it. A good show today. Got a lot of stuff to get through. We're going to be talking about batteries. The child safety thing from Apple's a big deal. We're going to talk about that and take out some of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, the FUD that goes along with that. So without further ado, let's get into this week's news and just get it started.
BGFG News. You heard it here third.
So first up in this week's news, I got to say that sometimes when I'm going through news and I pass by stories that I think are common sense for people, they're not. They're really not. But the misinformation is indeed out there, and I think it's getting to be bullshit. We've talked on the show before, I think last week and probably several weeks prior to that, about being cautious when you're dealing with things like when you're dealing with websites and news articles, and especially things like Facebook, Instagram, things like that. And the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of clickbait, there's a lot of misinformation. Here's an example. There's apparently master faces for unlocking an iPhone. And I immediately jumped all over that because I'm like, come on, man. Why would there be biometrics if you could bypass them? Now, granted, I could knock your ass out and take your finger on your unconscious body and drape it over your computer and get access to it. But again, this isn't a movie. You don't want your phone to be missed and then, Uncle Bob looks like the guy that you stole the phone from, so let him try to get his face recognition going. It's more sophisticated than that. And if you remember on the show, months and months ago, we talked about how the facial recognition has a problem where it can't distinguish any other folk other than Caucasian people. And that's just wrong, man. It's wrong. And that's because the way they tested and the way they set it up, they were using Caucasian men to do it. So there wasn't really any alternative as to different faces, skin tones, things like that, face shapes. But academics from Tel Aviv say that there's 9 master faces. I mean, is this even true? No, I really don't think so. Those 9 faces, when you start reading into it, again, the clickbait is, essentially your iPhone security is not safe. And that's not true at all. And I hate when they do shit like this, because there's so many people that'll be scrolling through shit on Facebook, read the headline. That's their news for the entire month right there. They will hang their hat on that till they're blue in the face. And you didn't read into the article. Into the article, it says that those 9 faces worked on 40% of the population. That's it. Just 40% of the population. That's not great. They use NVIDIA's Style GAN system to do it, and if you've seen some of the more recent games, like, dare I say, a Call of Duty, those faces look pretty damn accurate. So you can get a lot. It bypassed 3 leading deep face recognition systems. So they're not even mentioning really an iPhone or an Android phone. They're not even mentioning that. They're talking about other security systems that are out there. And the best part is when you actually dig a little deeper and you find out what these master faces are. They're essentially older Caucasian men with glasses and short white hair. All of them. All of them, I might add. I mean, it's, if you think of it like this, most grandfathers look the same, don't they? Gray hair, thinning, glasses, wrinkly face, pale skin. They all relatively look the same. So you're not reinventing the wheel here. You basically found Grandpa's password, which is some of the dumbest shit I think I've honestly ever seen in my life, with them doing stuff like this. It's just dumb. And you're not getting into an iPhone anytime soon. It's not going to happen. And the people that sit there and think that, it can be easily hacked if you have a friend, family, well, it wouldn't be out if it was easily hacked. It just wouldn't be out. It wouldn't be. And there's so many of these clickbait shits going on. I mean, can you bypass something? Sure, you might get away with Grandpa's phone, but it's kind of like when another example I'll give you this week is some news organizations decided to start talking about long duration batteries because it hit the news. And there's another thing, when you see the headline long duration batteries, you got to start thinking, because the first thing, I mean, it's a hot topic right now. And what's the hot topic? Car batteries. Your rechargeable car batteries. That's the big deal right now. So if you can get any sort of upgrade to your car battery, that's great. So, but the headline states that they're looking for long duration batteries. And look, there's currently 2 problems holding the electric vehicle industry back, in my opinion, right now. And first is the charging options. So in my area, there's 2 places that I could charge my vehicle. I can't do it at my own house just because how old my house is, and it's an apartment. So I can't really do it there. So I have to go down to one of the local charging spots. Now, these charging spots, one of them is just literally an empty parking lot with like 3 charging stations on it at the opposite end of the parking lot. And the other one is in a nicer area, more affluent town, and they have one, but again, theirs is covered in everything else. So if it's raining and shit in the first one, you're gonna have to get wet and you're gonna have to deal with the outdoor elements. And the second one is really nice. There's only 2 charging stations, and like everybody in that town is all granola, and they all have charging vehicles, so there's never a spot there. And there's I mean, the average electric car range right now, fully charged, is around 181 miles. For me, going back and forth to work, that's maybe 2 days. And that's just back and forth to work. I can't stop anywhere. I can't, go to the store across town. I have to go to work and come back, and that's enough. But Form Energy, and when you read the article that I posted in the show notes, you'll realize that this isn't even about cars at all. Form Energy, which is out of Massachusetts, which is nice, has figured out a way to use iron, which is extremely heavy, which is why it won't work for a car, to hold the charge for a longer time. This is great for power grids and more stationary power requirements like chargers and generators, things like that. So, like I've always said, and we've said here on the show, when you're dealing with clickbait, whenever you see an article that makes you go, oh, that's interesting, or oh, that's shitty, read the article, because sometimes it's just plain clickbait. And this is why today, with all the technology, you really need to read a lot more about the topic before you start commenting and chirping on it. This is the problem we have with Facebook misinformation. People jump on Facebook and they talk about how this is bad and that's bad, and I can't believe this company's doing that. it's great to be on Facebook, and then you get some chowderhead that'll sit there and say that they're a nurse and that the vaccine's a bad idea. If you're a nurse, that's the last thing you should be saying, because you can see firsthand how it works. And if you're saying that the vaccine doesn't work or that the vaccine's pointless and you are a nurse, maybe you should rethink being a nurse, because your job is healthcare, and that's not helping anybody right there. I can't tell you how many people, and again, like we've talked about with the news, they're gonna post articles that are gonna work for the topic they want to point out. So, for instance, if they're talking about anti-vaxxers, if they're supporting anti-vaxxers, then they're going to turn around and say, 15 people that got the vaccine have now contracted COVID. Well, again, read a little bit more into that conversation instead of just reading what your friend posted on Facebook. If you read more into the conversation, there was, again, underlying conditions. You have situations where they have a variant or a newer variant. I mean, there's whispers right now of a third variant out that's just not even allowing. So the variant is tough, and if you're vaccinated, you're pretty well set. There's a second variant that's out that they're talking right now whether you get a booster shot for whether it's Moderna or Pfizer. You get a booster shot that'll protect you from that. Understandable, they do that with the flu vaccine all the time. Every year they do it with the flu vaccine. So every year you get the flu vaccine, you're getting the following year, you're going to get the same vaccine that you got last year, but modified. And that's what they're trying to look at now. But there's another variant the variants just keep coming out, and that's where the problem is. So you got to really read these articles and not just trust what Betty said on Facebook. One of the things that kind of irked me a little bit right now is the child safety updates. So this goes into not only reading the whole article, but this also goes into misinformation, and this goes into people that are, getting crowds riled all the time. So people are already crying about how much information or how much control Apple has. I've said it before on the show. Fremo and I have argued constantly. If you're a geek, I mean like a serious geek, get whatever damn phone you want, because you're going to make sure that you're safe. My main computer, this production rig that I have going right now for all the shows that we do and editing and shit, there's not an antivirus on there because I'm cautious and careful and I know what I'm doing. Windows antivirus that's built in is sufficient for my needs. But if I was somebody like my kids, my 16, 18, and 14-year-old, all three of them have antivirus on their computer because they're idiots. And they're gonna get infected one way or another, whether it's downloading mods or going to an adult site to look at boobies or something like that. They're going to get snagged. So that's why I have it on there. But again, most people are whining about Apple having control. I never had a problem with that. Fremo always did. I didn't, because again, Apple makes it sure. The example I would give would be the problem that we had with a shooting on a military base in Florida. It was all over the news reports that Apple didn't want to give information, wasn't allowing the NSA to have a backdoor or anything like that. But the fact of the matter was that Apple did indeed give every piece of information to the authorities, every piece, multiple phone numbers, multiple accounts, saved messages from months and months and months and months prior, pretty much everything that was even listed on the phone, but they didn't give them a backdoor key. I find that to be okay. I find that to be safe. Now, do they have all the power? Correct. But as soon as they let a backdoor out, as we've spoke about in previous shows, it allows nefarious people to buy that, or one NSA agent that's in a hole of debt that thinks he can get out or whatever, and sells that one app on a USB to mafioso. That's how it starts, and it just snowballs from there. But when it comes to whining about your security and your privacy, I mean, people, we've told you 100 times if we told you once. The cat is out of the bag, okay? You don't have any privacy. That's gone. That's long gone. You could do the best you can to have a smaller footprint, but your privacy is gone, completely gone. I mean, your job, when you go apply for a job, they can base your job requirements on your Facebook profile. They can look at shit from years ago that you had a bad taste in your mouth from somebody that you bumped into at a movie theater, talk shit about them on Facebook, and next thing you know, you're not getting a job because you said something that might have been off color. So if you think for a moment that you have privacy and this shit's going to go away, it's not. So this new Apple Child Safety Update that's going to be in iOS 15, I think it's good. And I'm one of those people, and Fremont and I have had conversations and disagreements about this before, and I see his point of view, and he does see my point of view. I feel I'm a huge proponent of locks keep honest people out. With that said, I don't have anything to hide on my phone. I have nothing to hide. If the police want to get into it, I mean, I'm not going to let them into it unless they have a probable cause, but I don't have anything to hide on any of my accounts or anything else. I just want my own privacy. So if there's a if my wife needs to get into my phone or anything else, it's an open book. I don't hide anything. So if people are worried about Apple scanning their photos, I don't think that, again, clickbait, Apple scanning your photo, all the photos in your phone and your kid's phone. And I've met several parents that are paranoid. Don't let their kids have pictures taken. If you take a picture at a group event, they ask you to take the kids out of it. So there's a lot of weirdness going on. But the thing that Apple's doing is not what people think it is. They're not scanning your phone constantly all the time. It determines if there's child porn on there. The feature's gotten the most attention out of all the updates is that iCloud photos they're going to scan iCloud photos, so the photos that are backed up, against known child pornography databases. And that's going to trigger. It identifies a certain amount of images. No one really knows how many yet, but it's not like one. We don't know if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. We have no idea. It's a certain amount of images. Now, once those images are determined to be on the person's phone or synchronizing from iCloud to the phone, then it goes to a human review process. And this is where the human aspect comes in, where the human will decide, okay, is that Margaret showing a picture of her grandkid in the bathtub? Or I have a picture of one of my kids butt naked on a stool trying to wash their hands. I think it's adorable. But that could be considered child porn. If I posted that or saved that in my phone to show a relative at a family gathering, I could be pinched. It's absolutely possible. But this is going to go into human review, and that's where they're going to take a look at some of these processes and decide whether they're actually child porn or just a parent trying to be cute. And the other feature is that getting people upset is that the messaging app. Messaging app's apparently going to take a look at all the messages that you have to see if there's any links or any pictures connected to child porn. Send in dick pics or booby shots or whatever it is of young folk is not a good deal. But no one is saying that it only works if you... One thing that nobody's saying at all is that this only works if you have a family plan and you opt in for it. So what you'll have to do is set up a family plan. I have myself as the main parent, and then I have my 5 kids under it. So my kids are under it, and I can turn settings on and off. So naturally, when it comes to the 16, 17-year-old, I'm not going to turn that feature on. But for the 12, 13, 14-year-olds, I'm going to turn that on. I don't have any that young anymore, but if I did, I would turn that on. If a child's under 13 and receives a naughty picture, then it immediately goes to the parent for approval. So it's not even going to Apple. It's identifying it and sending you a message as the head of the family on the account. And it's going to ask you if you want to approve it to be seen or not. And again, it could be their cousin in their 2 cousins in a pool, and my cousin sent a picture over of her 2 daughters in the pool to tell my kids, hey, why don't you come over? It's too hot. Everybody's in the pool. But that could be taken wrong. So what this does is this goes to the parent for approval. If the child's over 13, the app will show a warning, but not send a message to the parents. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think 13's a little young. I would like to see it like 15 or 16. I think they're a little bit older and they're experimenting more with that sort of stuff. And again, it's different than when we were kids. We're not going behind the backstop or not going behind the school or behind the building to fool around. They're doing it over text messages and social media. Now remember, Microsoft, Google, and Dropbox have been scanning your photos for a decade. So don't get all hot and heavy. Everybody wants to jump all over Apple because they're the biggest in the market. They make the most money, and they seem to be Teflon. Like nothing sticks to them. They never do anything wrong. Well, Microsoft, Google, and Dropbox have been scanning your photos too, but you're not saying shit about that, are you? No. So what's the problem? You want safety for the kids. You think it's too easy for the kids to get child pornography, or child pornographers are easily transmitting stuff. You want something to be done, but then when a company like Apple takes the steps forward and is legitimately out there telling you we're doing this for you, you get all shitty. But yet Microsoft, Google, and Dropbox have been doing it, never told anybody, and nobody says shit. That's messed up. You got to kind of take responsibility for your own actions. You can't have one without the other. And I hate when I see people do that. It really pisses me off. So if you have kids and you have a family plan, I implore you, iOS 15, when you download it, go over to it and just see if, maybe that's something that you want to turn on for your kids. Now, I remember the Microsoft one, like I said, a decade ago. I did have that connected for my oldest two, and it sucked. It really did suck because, again, Microsoft half-asses everything. So the pictures were like the stuff that they want to access, websites for schools, pictures, all sorts of shit. I was constantly getting emails all day long from Microsoft, authorizing this, authorizing that. I'm getting texts from my daughter going, Dad, I need to get my homework done. I want to go out. Can you please authorize that page so I can get my homework done? I'm doing research for a paper. And she legitimately was. You get to look at the website. But, you got these Karens out there that just constantly bitch. They bitch if you do something for them. They bitch if you don't do something for them. And it's really kind of shitty and annoying. So I implore, as I always do with all of my people, all of the sheeple that listen to the show, I'm telling you, and you can pass it on to your friends, family, and relatives. Read the whole damn article first. Do a little bit of research. And for the love of God, don't get your information from social media. Shit, man. Just don't. All right, so let's get into this week's music, which is my favorite part, especially this week. It's a hell of a band. I really like this band. This band is called Crownlands. The song is called White Buffalo. It's a Canadian rock duo, just two guys. In fact, the singer's the drummer, which always messes me up. I have a studio drummer I'm friends with that is just super talented, super musically knowledgeable. Like, I'm talking like went to school for music theory. But I can't... I can keep a drum beat for a certain amount of time with certain songs, but singing with it, that's not happening. I'm not that coordinated. Crownlands did win a Juno Award in 2021 for Breakthrough Artist, so I'm excited to play them this week. You're not going to see it or hear it if you're watching the live stream or checking this out on YouTube. So I implore you to go to bgfgonline.com, or you can search for us on pretty much every single organization: Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, Spotify. You can get us everywhere, and you'll hear the full song, and it's a great song. And I always play my songs in lower quality, that way I can't get in too much trouble, because not only is it easier to produce, but if you like the song, you're going to download the song and hear it a lot better in a better quality on your own products. So let's take a quick break. We'll listen to Crownlands, White Buffalo, and on the other side, we'll see if a stick style will give you a GPU update, and maybe tackle a little bit into the the Activision Blizzard mess that's going on. It's pretty awful. All right, we'll catch you on the other side. For those that are listening live, we'll see you in just a moment. I need to take a break.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
And we're back. Oh, that is a That is a really good song, and it's definitely got a very, very Led Zeppelin feel to it, which I love. A lot of the bands now are kind of discovering that sound, that vibe. It's just it's nice. I love when I get to find new rock and roll that works. You know, that's got a little bit of a guitar solo, that's got some whine and some angst. I don't want to hear about bitches and drugs and hoes, and I mean, I like my hip hop, but at the same time, this constant bullshit and the whiny stuff for rock. But again, Crownlands, good stuff, brand new on the scene, and you will not see two people with a finer head of hair. They really do. They have great hair. When you see the picture of them, it's amazing. I just had to put that out there. Good musicians, but great hair. All right, let's get into this week's stick style stuff, and we'll see what we can get cracking.
Gaming.
So, in this week's Stick Style, the first thing that we always talk about is the GPU update, and unfortunately, people, you still can't get one. It's not happening. Not anytime soon. But it is looking... What the hell's going on here? Oh, the wife's in the studio. Wonder what that noise was. Those going to get attacked. So, in the GPU update, unfortunately, you still can't get one. And you're not getting anyone anytime soon. But it is looking better. You're starting to see some of the prices going down a little bit because people that are sitting on these cards can't sell them at all. Some of them are looking real good. I was just looking the other day for one of the kids, and I found an AMD 6700 RX. If you're watching the video feed, you'll see the video. It's a beautiful card. If you're doing a white build, this is a good card. Now, the 6700, the AMD 6700 is considered a newer card, but it's also considered their base, like, 1080p card. And we've talked on Stick Style before where the sweet spot is. What do you want? Do you want a 240 hertz monitor? Do you want this? Do you want that? If you're happy with the graphics and the experience that you get on a console, remember that a console has the equivalent, and that's PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 and Xbox One have the equivalent of an AMD 6700 RX card or a 3070 card. That's essentially the chipset that they have in there. The PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and Series S have the newer, higher-end stuff, like the 6800 equivalent and a 3080 equivalent. So it's not that big of a deal for 6700. And if you like 1080p, that's what you're getting on your TV, really. A lot of times you're doing 1080p at 60 frames. So if you're happy with what your console's putting out on your PC, you can go a little bit higher, and it will look a little bit cleaner because of the monitor compared to a TV. But 1080p 60 frames is fine. A lot of the stuff you see on Stick Style recordings are 1080p 60 frames. Currently on one of my machines, I'm running, because I was kind of experimenting, I'm running a 1440 at 144, and I do admit, it looks great. It's sharp, it's bright, it's smooth. I don't disagree. I agree with everybody else, like Linus Tech Tips and all the other pundits that state that the sweet spot right now is 1440, 144. But I feel that that's if you can afford it, number one, and number two, if you're constantly playing PC games. If you're mixing it up, if you're playing a console and occasional PC games, or you're doing the whole console, which somebody asked me if I could do a show on that, and I think I will, on how I get all of that stuff working. I can, pardon me, I can basically run Xbox, PlayStation, or the computer, or the PC game on the same computer, and you can do that as well. And I only have one capture card. There's a couple of tricks you can do. You might have to do a little sneaker net action, but for the most part, you can do it, and it's kind of fun. You'll get 60 frames from your consoles on your computer screen, but it's still good, and we'll do a show about that. But right now, if you're doing an all-white computer build, you can get a 6700 RX white card for $800 on eBay. That's pretty damn good, and it's a Power Color one, which is the same company that makes the Red Devil, so they kind of know what they're doing. And for those who don't know, a Red Devil card is, like, in my opinion, is one of the higher end video cards you can get. And when you get a Red Devil card, you know it, because it runs really well. So you might not be out of a lot of money in the very near future, and there's hope for Christmas. If you notice, there hasn't been a lot of cards dropping recently in the past couple of months, and I don't predict you'll see a lot of drops in the next couple of months. What you will see is November, I'd say mid to late November, and definitely December, if there's going to be any cards being pushed out for purchase, because that's the smart thing to do business-wise. I predict that's when you're going to see it, and I think that's when it's going to make a lot of money. Well, again, I think Activision and Blizzard might be out of a lot of money for a while. Their saga continues, and holy shit snacks, is it a hot mess. So now you have contract workers are now coming forward explaining that it was a toxic environment to work in to begin with. About 15 employees or so, current and past employees, are coming out describing constant worker rotation as being one of the major problems because there was so much ridicule. Huge disconnect between employees and management. It's a contract employee, so they usually work by the So there's a couple of things with this that you got to kind of look into, and I think it helps that if you've ever done any contract work or worked for a company that works by contracts. So the worker rotation is the fact that when you work on a contract, a lot of these companies figured out that if you work them for X amount of time on their contract, let's say 6 to 8 months, you work them on their contract. Once that contract's over, all you have to do is give them 3 months off. Now, can they collect unemployment? They certainly can. And they're going to get told, you're going to be unemployed for 3 months, and then we might call you back. Or you could be diligent and call them back and say, hey, the 3 months is up. Hey, you got any work for me? And a lot of manufacturing jobs will do that. And again, they're working on contracts as well. So if they have a contract to make, 15 million screws and they need 4 employees to do that, that's where your contract comes in. When that contract ends, of course, you're not needed anymore. So they're going to lay you off. Now, can they hire you back? Yeah, because they're going to be hiring more contracts. You're familiar with the equipment and the process, so you're better likely to come back. But that's the problem with contract work. It's very similar to gig work. The difference being is that contract work, you at least have something. The company's doing this. You're collecting unemployment, et cetera, et cetera. With gig work, which is what the millennials are doing now, I think it's worse off because you're working a gig, you're accepting, $5,000 for that particular job spread out over 6 to 8 weeks. But once that's done, it's done. There's no other work. You did that job. It's building a program. It's setting up computers. It's doing whatever. You're done with that. So I think the contract works a little bit better, but it's still different. It's also shitty that a lot of times they let you go and they don't tell you they're going to call you back or anything. So you're basically out and you're trying to find another job again in the market. It's normal to do this if you're a contract worker, but it doesn't mean that it's right. There's no job stability. There's no real minimum wage. I mean, well, there is a minimum wage, but you're making that minimum wage. They're not going to be paying you any high-end money to do these contract works. And contractors say it's almost impossible to reach management at Activision Blizzard because they're taking care of multiple teams, multiple projects, and multiple locations in some cases. Blizzard Activision has like 4 or 5 different locations around the country where they have quality assurance and they have customer support. So when like a new Call of Duty game comes out, they contract a shit ton of people to do phone support and Q&A. And when that's done, when it starts dying out, you're getting laid off. And they don't necessarily need you until they come out with another game. That's just the way shit works. I mean, it's the way business works. It's a shitty way. But they've had complaints about that. So this is just another facet of the already management discrimination and sexual abuse. So this is big time. I mean, there's already been talk that like a couple of World of Warcraft players that are apparently popular. I don't play, so I can't speak on it. But they're apparently very popular, been playing for over a decade, have a big following, have stopped playing because of the stuff that they've heard about and stuff they talked about. When you get up to that level, a lot of times people need to understand that a lot of times when you get to that level in any game, you start being able to talk to the company that makes the game a little bit better because you're kind of representing the company as a legitimate all-the-time player. Sometimes you get sponsored, things like that. And I've heard that happen before. But you know what? Do your research. The Activision Blizzard thing's not going to go away. And we're going to hear more about it. We're going to hear more about the bullshit that went on as litigation continues. But let's flip this negative vibe around and talk about something that we can all get behind. And that's Nerf. So there's a new shooter in town, ladies and gentlemen. You don't have to worry. Yeah, you want to get into, one of the other games like, I don't know, oh, geez, now nothing's going to work. Oh, I'm breaking everything over here. So, Game Mill Entertainment and Hasbro have now come out with a single-player and multiplayer first-person shooter, and it's all based on Nerf. You face off against evil robots in a single-player campaign, or you can have a multiplayer free-for-all 8-person, or you can have a 4x4, 4 versus 4 match on team matches. Crossplay is available, so that's good. 15 different authentic Nerf blasters they're going to have from the Mega Series, the Elite Series, and the Ultra Series, or sets. They're all going to be there. And it's going to be, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be entertaining at the very least. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Plus all sorts of power-ups. You're going to check out the trailer. Check out the trailer on the website. It's pretty good. Dropping in October for all consoles. And wrapping up this week's game news is a glitch that I haven't seen in a while. And that glitch, believe it or not, is something very cool. It's from Fortnite. And I think everything just crashed.